This final day of April will change everything. Get ready for a big shift. Scorpio, have you felt it? The silence that doesn't soothe, but stirs something ancient inside you? The dreams that linger like fog? The restless pull as if your soul knows a secret that your mind hasn't caught up with yet? This isn't your imagination. This is your initiation. I'm Elizabeth, and if you found yourself here, it's not by accident. The final day of April is not just a date, it's a portal. A crack in the cosmic order where truth seeps in like light through broken stone. And for Scorpio, the sign of death, rebirth, and the hidden, it's the universe's call to rise. Something is shifting beneath your surface. You may not be able to name it yet, but it's real. The old shell you've carried is thinning. And with it, the illusions, the people, the fears you've outgrown. The planets aren't asking for permission, they're demanding transformation. Scorpio, this is your moment. But the question is, will you surrender to the flow of rebirth or resist and fracture under the pressure of your own evolution? In today's video, I'll guide you through this cosmic gateway. We'll explore the deeper meanings behind your emotional tides, the planetary energies lighting your path, and the healing waiting just beyond the shadows. So stay with me until the end. Like, subscribe, and share if this message already stirs something in you. Because the Scorpio who began this video won't be the same by the end. Are you ready to remember who you really are? Chapter 1. The Stirring Beneath the Surface. For Scorpio, transformation is not an occasional event, it is your very nature. But this time, it's different. Isn't it? You're not merely evolving, you're unraveling, not breaking down, but being deconstructed by something sacred, quiet, invisible, and yet, undeniable. As the final day of April draws near, you may feel like you're standing on the edge of something, unable to name it, but unable to look away. This isn't just emotional turbulence. This is Pluto, your ruling planet, positioned to bring submerged truths to the surface. And when Pluto speaks, it doesn't whisper, it stares into your soul. Scorpios are known for their emotional control, their ability to endure storms in silence. But lately, silence hasn't felt like peace. It's felt like pressure. Pressure building behind your eyes, in your chest, in your dreams. You may be experiencing physical fatigue, sudden mood swings, or an almost electric sensitivity to other people's energy. These are not signs of weakness. They are signs of awakening. What's happening isn't just planetary, it's personal. The universe is stirring memories you buried, fears you thought you'd mastered, desires you never dared voice. And here's the paradox: the more you resist, the louder they become. It's okay to feel unstable right now. Scorpio, you're not meant to stay balanced on the edge of rebirth. You are meant to fall inward, to die to the illusion, so something greater can emerge. Psychologically, this is your shadow material rising. Old wounds are resurfacing because they're ready to be released. This isn't about digging through pain for pain's sake. It's about retrieving the power you left behind when you suppressed those parts of yourself. Imagine a snake shedding its skin. The process is raw, but necessary. The old layer becomes too tight, too dry, too false. That's where you are now. And the universe? It's not punishing you, it's preparing you. You may notice synchronicities, people from your past reaching out, repeating numbers like 1111 or 222, or conversations that echo your inner thoughts. These are cosmic breadcrumbs. They're leading you inward, not outward. And spiritually, you're being asked to sit still in the chaos, to breathe when it feels like drowning, to listen when your instinct is to speak. This is not the time for impulsive reactions. It's the time to observe what is trying to die in you, and what is begging to be born. Ask yourself, what emotions have I been suppressing in order to feel in control? What illusions about myself or others am I finally ready to let go of? What version of me is no longer sustainable? The truth is, this is a sacred pause. A prelude. You are being stripped down, not to be weakened, but to remember your original essence. The Scorpio before the masks, before the armor. And as April comes to a close, that essence is beginning to stir again, fierce, intuitive, ancient. Your transformation has already begun. The only question left is, will you honor it? Chapter 2. the wounds that whisper, healing through the pain. Scorpio, you have always worn your strength like armor. But beneath that armor lies something more sacred, your vulnerability. And now, as the cosmic current intensifies, it is your wounds, not your weapons, that are being summoned. This final threshold of April is not about fixing what's broken. It's about acknowledging what has been buried, often for years. Emotional wounds, childhood echoes, past betrayals, silent heartbreaks. These are not just memories. They are soul codes, waiting to be decoded through presence, not resistance. Psychologically, this is the surfacing of unprocessed grief. Maybe you've told yourself you were over it, that it didn't matter, that you had to move on. But the body remembers, the soul keeps score, and the deeper the pain, the quieter it hides. Until now, you may find yourself suddenly thinking of someone from your past, a parent, a lover, a friend, someone whose presence once cracked you open. Or perhaps you feel a weight in your chest without knowing where it comes from. This is not a regression. It's a retrieval. A part of you is calling back what was lost in those moments of heartbreak. From an astrological lens, Pluto and Mars, the rulers of Scorpio energy, are not soft energies. They are surgical. They do not offer comfort, they offer truth. And the truth is, every wound you carry has shaped the way you protect your heart. The way you trust. The way you choose who gets to stay and who gets cut off. But here's the deeper layer, not all protection is healing. And not all survival is growth. Sometimes the armor becomes the prison. And Scorpio, this is your time to shed the armor. Not out of weakness, but as a radical act of trust. Spiritual healing does not happen through avoidance. It happens through courage. The courage to sit with discomfort. The courage to ask, what pain am I still defining myself by? What am I afraid will happen if I truly let go? What would it mean to forgive, not just others, but myself? This healing process is not meant to be solitary. You may meet someone during this window, perhaps briefly, perhaps profoundly, who acts as a catalyst, a mirror. Their presence may feel familiar, even if they are a stranger. This is not coincidence. It is alignment. The universe sends messengers when the soul is ready to listen. These relationships, even if fleeting, are sacred. Some are here to help you heal, others to help you see where healing is still needed. In Buddhist thought, pain is not something to escape, it is a teacher. And right now, Scorpio, your pain is speaking in symbols. It may show up in your dreams, in body aches, in emotional waves that feel disproportionate to what's happening. But this is not chaos. It's intelligence. It's your body and spirit aligning for release. Honor the tears. Honor the silence. Don't rush to close the wound just to feel okay. Let it speak. Let it guide. Because underneath every scar lies a story. And underneath every story lies the part of you still waiting to be heard. You are not weak for feeling deeply. You are powerful because you can. And as April's end approaches, your power lies not in how tightly you can hold yourself together, but in how bravely you allow yourself to come undone. This is where true healing begins. Chapter 3. The portal opens, a call to rebirth. There are moments in life, Scorpio, when the world around you doesn't change, but you do. Subtly at first, a shift in breath, a difference in what you tolerate, a sudden inner knowing that the path you've been on no longer matches the soul you've become. That's what this cosmic window is, not just a transformation, but a return to the version of you that existed before the world demanded you become smaller to survive. As we approach the final day of April, the astrological landscape reveals a rare alignment, a cosmic doorway. Pluto, your ruling planet, makes a slow yet commanding presence in the sky, pushing you to step beyond your previous emotional limits. Simultaneously, lunar energy in water signs enhances your intuitive gifts, amplifying the pull toward your inner truth. This portal is not external. It doesn't exist in the stars, it exists within you. And to walk through it, you must first recognize what cannot come with you. That relationship you've outgrown. That belief that your worth depends on being invulnerable. That fear that keeps your heart behind a wall of thorns. Let them dissolve. Psychologically, this is a moment of ego death, a shedding of the protective identity you've built to stay safe. The roles you've played, the masks you've worn. It's time to ask, Who am I without the pain? Who am I without the need to control? What part of me has been waiting in silence to be remembered? This portal asks for sacrifice, but it gives something greater in return: authenticity. Not the curated version of you that pleases, performs, or protects, but the raw, radiant essence that simply is. Spiritually, this is your phoenix moment. The ashes are not something to fear. They are sacred ground, fertile, ready. Your fire has burned long enough in secret. It's time to rise, not as someone new, but as who you've always been beneath the layers. And if you're afraid, that's natural. The soul trembles before it awakens. The caterpillar doesn't crawl willingly into darkness. But transformation isn't about comfort. It's about truth. And Scorpio, no other sign carries the spiritual stamina to walk through fire and emerge with grace. During this time, you may be called to rest more, to say no more often, to withdraw from distractions. Honor that. Solitude is your chrysalis. In that stillness, your spirit recalibrates. Your vision clears. You begin to see through the illusions, both those cast by others and those you've believed about yourself. This is where your power returns. Quietly, steadily, unshakably. Let this final chapter of April be your personal ritual. Clear your space. Light a candle. Write down what you're releasing. Cry if you need to. Laugh if you must. Let your body move in whatever way it wants. You're not doing this for show. You're doing this for your soul. Because rebirth isn't always a loud explosion. Sometimes, it's a breath, a decision, a whisper of, "I'm ready." And Scorpio, whether you know it or not, you are ready. The portal is here. The question is no longer if you'll cross it. It's how deeply you're willing to trust yourself as you do. Chapter 4. Sacred Power, Rising in Your Truth. Scorpio, you've walked through the silence. You've stared into the shadow. And now, something has shifted, not just within your energy, but in the way the universe reflects your presence back to you. This is not the power you once knew, the kind forged in secrecy, control, or survival. This is sacred power, the kind that comes when nothing and no one else defines who you are. There's a common misconception that Scorpio's strength lies in mystery or intimidation. But your true power isn't about fear. It's about truth. Truth so raw, so clear, so anchored, that it silences the noise around you without a single word. Astrologically, Pluto's ongoing influence is asking you to reclaim that truth, not through force, but through alignment. Mars, your co-ruler, fuels action, but now it whispers instead of roars. It calls you to discern rather than dominate, to lead not through control, but through quiet certainty, to radiate, not just protect. You're no longer the version of yourself who needs to be right, or safe, or unseen. You've been forged in intensity long enough to know, real strength doesn't resist the fall, it embraces it. Psychologically, this chapter is about integration. The wounds that surfaced in earlier weeks are no longer bleeding. They've become wisdom. The triggers no longer control your reaction, they reveal your boundaries. You don't need to explain yourself. Your energy speaks louder than your voice ever could. Spiritually, you are now being entrusted with greater responsibility. Your intuition is sharper. Your senses are attuned. And what once confused you now feels obvious. Because clarity always follows surrender. And you, Scorpio, have surrendered deeper than most ever dare to go. You may feel drawn to speak out, to guide others, to share the insights that once isolated you. Do it, but not to be understood. Do it because you understand. This is not a time for approval. It's a time for embodiment. Let your truth reshape your relationships. You may notice people responding to you differently, more respect, more curiosity, perhaps even more distance from those who can't meet you where you've risen. Let them go, not in bitterness, but in blessing. As Rumi said, try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. Now is the time to make decisions that reflect who you've become, not who you used to be afraid to be. Ask yourself, what am I no longer available for? What does power look like when I don't have to prove it? How can I live in deeper alignment with my intuitive knowing? You are being called to live with intentionality. No more playing small, no more bending to appease, no more dimming to fit in. Scorpio, this is the rebirth of your identity, not built on pain, but shaped by purpose. The final days of April offer you a cosmic current of support. But only if you stop resisting the tide. Stand in your truth like a mountain. Let your presence be your declaration. And when people ask what changed, you'll know the answer isn't simple. Because what changed wasn't what you did, it was who you finally remembered yourself to be. This is the moment where the phoenix doesn't just rise, it soars. Chapter 5. Becoming the Oracle, Living in Divine Alignment. Scorpio, something sacred has emerged from within you. Not loud, not flashy, but unmistakably eternal. You've crossed the inner threshold. You've touched the edge of death, not of the body, but of the self that no longer served your becoming. And now, you are not just reborn. You are the Oracle. To live as the Oracle is not to predict the future, it is to embody it. You are no longer reacting to the world, but responding to your soul. You move with intention, you speak with resonance, and your very presence becomes a mirror for others to remember who they are. This is what divine alignment feels like. Not ease in the traditional sense, but clarity. You know what is for you. You know what isn't, and your intuition, once tangled in fear or doubt, is now your most trusted guide. Astrologically, the energy you've stepped into is both precise and profound. Pluto's shadow work is not finished, but it has shifted. It now works with you, not against you. The skies are aligning to support your spiritual leadership, your emotional intelligence, your rare depth. Scorpio, your water runs deep, but now, it also flows. Psychologically, this is integration at its highest level. The child within you has been acknowledged. The protector has been thanked and gently set aside. And the higher self, the quiet knower who's always been watching, has taken the reins. You may begin to notice synchronicities amplifying, a sense of flow even amid challenge. You make decisions faster. You attract people who speak your soul's language. This is not magic, it's resonance. Your external life is now catching up with your internal transformation. Spiritually, you are now being called to live what you've learned. This is the difference between awakening and embodiment. Awakening is insight, embodiment is integration, and you, Scorpio, are ready to walk this earth not just as a seeker, but as a beacon. Let your life become the ritual. Let your boundaries be sacred geometry. Let your words be spells of clarity and compassion. Let your presence be the proof of healing. You don't need to fix or convince anyone. You only need to be. And in doing so, you become a channel for truth. Not the loud, performative truth, but the quiet, undeniable truth that rearranges rooms and souls. You may feel drawn to guide others, to share your wisdom in writing, teaching, or silent service. Follow that, but release the need to control how it lands. The Oracle does not chase. The Oracle radiates. Ask yourself, what truths am I ready to share? Not from pain, but from peace? How can I live my wisdom rather than simply speak it? What would it mean to walk through life as the sacred I am? As this month closes, remember, you are not who you were at the beginning of it. You are the space between endings and beginnings. You are the stillness before the storm, the breath after the battle, the lighthouse built from its own ashes. And now, Scorpio, your power is no longer hidden. It is lived, the final echo of transformation. Scorpio, you've walked through the fire of truth, the waters of emotion, and the winds of change. And now, you stand, unshaken, awake, and reassembled in the image of your higher self. This journey was never about becoming someone else. It was about returning to the version of you that was buried beneath survival, silence, and sacrifice. The you who remembers, the you who knows, the you who feels deeply and rises anyway. Let this be the chapter where your pain becomes prophecy, where your silence becomes wisdom, where the endings you feared become the portals you were always meant to walk through. As you move forward from this final day of April, hold this truth close. You are no longer walking blindly through life. You are walking with the stars. And with every breath, every boundary, every act of courage, you realign with your divine purpose. So I ask you now, Scorpio, are you ready to live what your soul already knows? Let me know in the comments, have you felt the shift? Have you been seeing signs, symbols, or sensations you can't explain? This is not your imagination. This is your invitation. If this journey stirred something in you, if it reminded you of your power, your path, or your purpose, then like this video, share it with a fellow soul in transformation, and subscribe to this channel. Because together, we rise. And remember, the phoenix doesn't ask if the fire will hurt. It simply knows, what comes after is worth everything.